Hello! My name is Punk Brock. I'm a British punk rock guinea pig VTuber who streams and makes funny videos here on YouTube. And I love Hololive. As you can see here, my Oshi is the one and only elite Mikochi. Earlier this year, I was lucky enough to be able to attend the Hololive Super Expo and a couple of performances at the 5th HoloFest, and I would love to talk your ear off about it. First off though, if you enjoy what you see, please give the video a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I'm going to be headed back to Japan to attend Mikochi's first solo live, Flower Fantasista, in a matter of days. So you're guaranteed to see what I get up to there as well. So, let's start with everybody's favorite topic, logistics. See, for us Kaigai Nikki, it sadly isn't as easy as deciding you just want to go to HoloFest, buying a ticket, and booking your flights. The way I believe most larger Japanese concerts and events operate is via some kind of lottery system. The country loves a lottery. I thankfully already had a larger trip to Japan conveniently booked around when HoloFest would be, so if I wasn't lucky enough to score a ticket, it wouldn't have been the end of the world, but I was determined to at least try and attend one of the events. So for us Kaigai Nikki, the lottery was held by a service called Zaiko. You set up an account, you enter the lottery for whichever stage you want to go to, and then in a few weeks, the results are announced. This happens, I think, 3 times? And if there are any tickets left after all of that, you have the chance to go and grab one via a traditional ticket purchasing system. There's upsides and there's downsides to this system, as I found out. One of the upsides is you can enter as many different lotteries as you like because there's no commitment to buy a ticket. You can simply say you'll enter payment details after the fact and enter multiple entries for every stage via different accounts. The obvious downside to this is the entries will be massively inflated as people will be entering a bunch of different times with different email addresses. I really wanted to go, and I happen to have about 8 email addresses for different non-shady purposes. So I entered 8 times and I applied for every ticket. I didn't win a single one. After the first lottery, however, Cover announced a partnership with a local travel company, JTB. It was expensive, but the packages included 1 day's entry to the expo, a ticket for one of the stages, some exclusive swag, as well as 1 night stay in a Tokyo hotel. I didn't really need the hotel or want to spend anywhere near this kind of money, but since it guaranteed me a day at the expo and a ticket to a stage, I bit the bullet and I booked one of these. The regular stages were sold out by the time I got around to booking, but I managed to get a package including tickets to the HoneyWorks stage. I love HoneyWorks, and this stage had most of my faves on, including Miko, so either way, I was ecstatic. Still, I wasn't satisfied, so I continued to enter the lotteries. Again, I didn't win a single ticket with my 8 entries. However, my partner, my wonderful, loving, caring partner, who entered 1 single time, won us 2 tickets to stage 3. Which just so happened to be the stage Miko was performing on. We are so back. So I mentioned before that I already had a trip to Japan booked. It was actually mine and my partner's honeymoon. We were there for 3 weeks total, 5 days in Kyoto, 5 days in Osaka, and then 10 days in Tokyo. We obviously did a lot of very cool non-holo stuff, but I know what you're here to see. The cool thing about visiting different cities was more excuses to hit up stores to find Hololive merch. And for anyone wanting to visit who isn't super familiar, like we were, if you're looking for Hololive merch, I would suggest Google mapping your way to some Lash and Bangs, Suragaya Specialty Store, K-Books, Book Off and Hobby Off are also really good, and Anime is a good chain that sells kind of like newer stuff. Everywhere else I'll have secondhand stuff though, which is kind of where the good stuff is. Pretty much every one of these has some level of Holo merch, and I'd managed to complete a small Ita bag before I even got to Tokyo. Another thing to keep an eye out for when you're over there is crossover promotions. I'd seen via Miko's streams that she had an upcoming promotion with a taiyaki chain that was offering a special Sakura taiyaki as well as exclusive Miko merch, so this was high on my list of things to seek out. We managed to find one early on in Kyoto near Nishiki Market, and I was able to pay my respects to my queen for the first but not last time this trip. I was able to get some blind bag pins, a sticker set, and some acrylic stands. I'm glad I got these while I did because later locations in Osaka and Tokyo were completely cleaned out of the exclusive merch, and also the taiyaki flavor, que triste. Anyway, fast forward to Tokyo. We managed to take part in a couple of Holo-related events before the fest. One was planned, and one was entirely by chance in one of the absolute strangest coincidences I have ever experienced. So the planned event was the Hololive HoneyWorks exhibition at Tower Records. This had a lot of cute artwork from the release and videos, offered some exclusive merch, had like pins, postcards. At this point, I was a little merched out, so I didn't grab anything, but it was super fun, and it was also free. It was very cool. The other event was a pre-fest party. It was thrown by a Hololive fan group. I think it was Hololic or Hololistener. Either way, I'll post the URL here. This was an incredible fan gathering with live cosplayers, dancers, DJs, and probably a lot more that we missed out on as we got there pretty close to the end. The reason this was such an amazing coincidence is we had no idea this event was happening until we literally stumbled into it because it was in the basement of the building our hotel room was in. Yeah, without any knowledge of this event happening, we'd somehow managed to book a room in a hotel directly above it. We'd noticed the club on the way to our hotel, but no events had been taking place on previous nights, so we get back from shopping one day to a small group of people sat at the top of the stairs. We tried to ask them, like, what's the event? What's going on? Is it a punk show? Is it a rock show? And they kind of struggled to explain, but they were like, no. We got the vibe it was something weird. But we were like, okay, we'll go upstairs, we'll get changed, then we'll head back down and we'll check it out. YOLO and all that. By the time we'd gotten back down, the people watching the door had disappeared, but we could still hear like a faint music coming from the club, so we headed down. I noticed a few Holomem plushies on a table at the bottom of the stairs, and I was talking to the people who had them. I was like, hey, cool plushies, hell yeah. Only to turn around, and the actual club was filled with Holo fans singing along to Holo songs, like waving glow sticks in like cosplay and happies. It was amazing. It was so bizarre and so fun. We didn't stay for too long as we got there late, but it was incredible. Speechless. I think we were supposed to have paid to get in there as well, which we didn't. We kind of just walked in. So I felt guilty about that, so I bought a t-shirt for the event. I was so ready for HoloFest now. Okay, day one. Our itinerary today was pretty simple. Turn up early to get in line, collect our expo tickets and goodie bag, then head over and spend as much time as we can at the expo. We honestly figured it wouldn't be the end of the world if we didn't get there super early, as we'd have all day to experience the expo, so we got there just before the line opened. In hindsight, a piece of advice: get there super early. This line was freaking huge. Luckily for us, as our expo tickets were through JTB, this was an entirely separate and much shorter line. We'd have to line up again tomorrow to get our stage wristbands, but for today, we were in and out of the line post-haste to be able to enjoy the expo. I'll show you what we got in our bag over here. We got this really cute travel bag, which tore even before we left Japan, both of them. We got a special ticket, we got a t-shirt, a luggage tag, and this capture the moment pen light, which I was so pleased with because we didn't manage to get one via the official merch system, which we will get into shortly. For now, though, we rushed over to the expo entry line, which you can imagine was just as huge. We maybe waited for an hour before we got into the hall, but this was just so exciting that it passed in no time. It was fun just looking around at everyone else's merch and their outfits and stuff. And the venue played Holomem voice lines over the PA system. It was super fun. We got in, I think, just after 11 a.m., so we missed the opening ceremony, which was a little sad. There was a full events calendar, which is to my left. Yay. The expo itself was overwhelming at first. We entered into one large hall, but there were two adjoined large halls with an area in between where you could find cosplayers, and if you were brave enough to ask, you could take pictures with them. I didn't for the most part, but I was overcome by the quality of some Holostars cosplayers, so I sheepishly asked for a photo. Arigato, Holostars! We had actually strongly considered cosplaying for the event, but as you needed to register for a changing room on site and you couldn't just arrive in cosplay, we decided we left it a bit too late and we didn't commit. So, the first hall. I'll flash pictures up to my left, but it was such a wonderful experience. We entered to a wall full of Holomem signatures. I particularly enjoyed Corones, and we just kind of drifted from exhibit to exhibit. There were standees all over the place playing voice lines, which is where I was able to pay my respects to my queen once again. There was kind of too much to list, but my favorites were the Holostars Island, the recreations of Holomem's bedrooms, and the Hololive Fantasy artwork exhibit was super rad. I also adored these clay figures, which were made by Miko, Subaru, and Mio on a stream prior to the event. It was super cool getting to see something IRL that I'd watched being created on a stream. There was also the giant viewing area where you could watch what was happening on the official YouTube stream. We hung out for a little bit, but since neither of us speak Japanese and real life doesn't have subtitles, we kind of mooched away. Most of the other exhibits was some kind of tie-in, which is where you could find the freebies. There was a Weisschwarz area that gave away this Muki Rose card, a crane game area where you could play a crane game for free stickers, beach area that had like a free plastic folder, and the Nendoroid exhibit, which might have been the best freebie. We got a wafer treat with a signed Miko Danye card. One thing I would say though, if you are planning to go, is if you're trying to do everything, be prepared to get there early and be prepared to stand in a lot of lines. We missed out on a bunch of stuff, either because we missed a ticket distribution earlier in the day, or because we just couldn't justify spending half of our day standing in a line. I was super excited to try and get some of the food items they had on offer, but we missed the pre-sale window, and on the day, the line was just insane. I think they may have stopped or severely reduced the amount the day after because of how crazy the lines were. But speaking of lines, that brings us back to the merchandise. So I guess to avoid disappointment and uncontrollable lines, at the expo, they didn't just offer on the day merch sales. The system was that you would buy the merch in advance online and then choose a window during the weekend to pick your merch up. Sounds very efficient. So we bought a bunch of stuff in the days leading up to the fest, and we booked our merch pickup for mid-afternoon on the first day. So we figured we'd grab it halfway during our day, in between exploring the exhibits. We could go back afterwards, blah, blah, blah. So we arrive at our holding area for our time window, and we wait. And we wait. And we wait. And we move to a different area outside, and we wait. Then we're finally moved into a different hall with another giant line, and we wait. All in all, I think it took nearly 2 hours from joining the line to picking up our merch. It was kind of unbelievable. Still, we got some great stuff, and I even made a couple of new friends in the line. Shout out to Ray, shout out to Riz, who decided to talk to me because of my Omocat Miko hoodie. I'll post a link to Riz's recap video in the description, where you can be treated to a very, very bad photo of me. After this, honestly, we were wiped out. We'd seen all there was to see, grabbed all the freebies there were to grab, so we called it a day for day one. However, we're not quite to day two yet. During the expo, we'd noticed that Hololive was doing a collaboration with a karaoke chain, Joy Sound, where they were offering free coasters with the purchase of special Hololive cocktails. And as adults of legal drinking age and incredible vocalists in our own right, we hit the karaoke booth and painted the town kind of a muted pinkish red. After that, we hit a Hololive provided hotel, which was perfectly adequate and absolutely not worth the amount of money I spent to get the package. And we got some rest for a big, big day of performances ahead of us. So today was the day. We had tickets to both live performances on day 2. The HoneyWorks stage was up first, and then stage 3 was closing the weekend. We could enjoy a bit more of a lie-in at our glorious Hololive provided hotel, as HoneyWorks started at 1 p.m, so we took our time getting to the event venue. Again, the cool thing about just being around that many Holo fans was how much love and creativity was put into people's outfits and eater bags. It was just amazing to be around. My one major regret for this trip was not being more active in seeking out like-minded fans to hang out with and join group photos, etc. Something I will hopefully be rectifying for my next trip. So 1 p.m. rolled around and we were ushered into the hall. As photos and videos were prohibited, I don't have any photos of the venue to show you, But the setup was kind of unexpected, but like in a really great way. I'm not sure if it came across if you were watching on a stream, but the venue actually had 3 different stages on different sides of the venue. So there was the main stage directly in front where the show started, and it had the live band performing on. And then the other stages were to the left and to the right of the crowd. So after every few songs, the stage would switch around, which basically made it less relevant exactly where you were sat, which was great. Because it meant basically that everyone should have had a great view of at least one of the stages. So, for example, we ended up being seated quite close to the central stage in the front, but as we were on the end of our row, we actually got an amazing view of the stage to our right, although our view of the stage on our left was pretty dog water. I'd been absolutely rinsing both HoloxHoneyworks releases in the weeks before the fest, so I was really hyped for this. If I were to individually go through every performance, we would be here all day, so I just want to point out some of the highlights and the moments that really stuck with me. One of the things I was a bit worried about was just not having any clue of what was going on during the in-between MC sessions, but as soon as Korone and Fubuki's initial MC session happened, it just really put me at ease. Proves how sometimes comedy can transcend language. Korone was instructing us to stand up and sit down and playing the part of a teacher. It was just hilarious, and it was my first sense of like, wow, I'm seeing these larger-than-life characters in person. Or at least as close to in person as you can get with a VTuber. Corone's original was a definite highlight, along with Pecora, Marin, Okayu and Luna, HoloX, Kiara and Kobo. The great thing about this stage was there were just so many members packed into it. And after this and stage 2, there were basically very few of my favorites that I didn't get to see. R.I.P. Crony. I think my solo highlights were a little surprising to me, at least. I thought Muna was incredible, had some really great fan chants, was a really fun song, and she's amazing. And my dark horse favorite of the whole weekend across both performances turned out to be Sean, someone who I've not been like a huge fan of, but her original was maybe my favorite song of the HoloxHoneyworks collection. She was super fun. However, nothing compared to my favorite performance of both concerts. My favorite thing of the whole weekend. My beloveds, Mikochi, absolutely killed it with her cover, obviously. My partner's nowhere near the level of Holo fan as me, so like it's only occasionally that I can get them fully latched onto a Holo song, but we both loved Miko's cover in the weeks leading up to Fest, so we were all in on the fan chants, we were super hype. We were also blessed as Miko was on the stage to our right, where we had an incredible view. Can't get over it, it was so good. Sora and Suisei closing it out was great too. It felt appropriate. We were just really, really hype. And we're just so ready for stage 3. But we had a few hours in between the performances, so we decided to hit up an izakaya not too far away, get our energy back up, have some food, have a little drink. And it's at this point I should mention a little something about myself. If you don't know, I'm a punk. It's in the name. It's not a fashion bit. I play in punk bands. I love punk bands. I work with punk bands. Check out some more of my videos where I speak to punk bands. And it just so happens that one of the biggest punk bands in the world, NoFX, was playing their final Japanese shows the same weekend as HoloFest at the exact same venue. And I'd actually considered trying to do both at one point. I've seen NoFX a bunch, and I made the right call. Let's just say that. Anyway, we're in the lift coming back down from the izakaya. We're ready to head back to the venue for stage 3. And we get in with a few Japanese punks, and they have like NoFX and High Standard shirts on. And they start talking to me. Because, you know, I look like I have tattoos and I have piercings. I look like somebody who's... I'm sure they thought like, oh, here's a foreigner who came to see NoFX. And one of them asks me, he's like, oh, did you come here to see NoFX? But before I can answer him, another of the guys points up my Miko Ita bag and he says, no, otaku. Just like everyone cracked up laughing at me. My partner was in stitches. It was good-natured and it was very funny, but it was just another funny coincidence about this trip. So we arrived back at the venue and this is kind of what it all feels like this weekend has been building up to. Stage 3. For me, this was absolutely the most stacked lineup. Stage 1 and 2 looked great. Stage 3 was for me. Miko, Suisei, Ame, Fubuki, Laplas, Okayu, the list goes on. Basically, all I listen to these days is Hololive original songs, so I felt pretty ready for what the song choices would be and what to expect, and I was wrong. Like, not in a bad way, but it turns out I know way less songs than I thought I did, so that meant for some very pleasant surprises. Some members chose really new songs, some members I just didn't know super well, but none of that really mattered because the atmosphere and the vibe was just immaculate. It wouldn't have mattered if I hadn't known a single song. The energy in the room was just off the charts, and I think waving a pen light around is now my preferred way to enjoy any kind of music. Speaking of, I'd be amiss if I didn't say one of the crucial things in how amazing these performances were was the live band. For a 4-piece band to create such an impressive sound, learn so many songs, and maintain an impeccable level of performance across the whole weekend is just outstanding. I'm sure it would have been great with backing tracks, but there's just something about seeing live musicians recreate these songs that makes me so happy. My favorites were favorites for a reason. Letter by Fubuki is a stone cold banger. Ame, so cute, and I'm so glad I got to see her before she graduated. Okayu was incredible. Miko was outstanding. Though, if I'm honest, in my heart of hearts, I was hoping for a more energetic song. Our Tree, beautiful song, incredible, but I'm looking forward to seeing a whole set from her at a solo live. I think I'm possibly not alone when I say I was disappointed we didn't see a Me Comet collab. I would have loved to have seen Sugar Rush live, but Fubuki and Miko were also great. Azuki and Suisei, beautiful. But you know, the heart wants what the heart wants. I had some more surprising favorites on stage 3. Xion, as stated before, one of my highlights of the weekend. I hadn't heard Cinderella Magic before, so I was like, did she just say un, deux, trois? But like, man, what a banger. That went immediately on my playlist. Lammy also really surprised me. I've never been a huge Lammy fan. I hadn't heard her original, but firmly on my playlist now. Really enjoyed it. La Plus's dance moves in person, top tier. Always great to watch, although she undid all of that work with an infamously incredible fall during her MC section, which I was blessed to see live. I think the one thing I got asked by my community when I told them I was going was like, how does it look? Because you have like the 3D setup, right? And it's like there's a lot that goes into post-production. So obviously watching the stream is great, is incredible. It's gonna look like it should look. I'm not gonna say that it looks like there's a person on stage, but it looks incredible. And again, everything adds to it. You know what it is. Your disbelief is never really suspended, but everything working together, the band, the visuals, the crowd is just, it's incredible. I just remember the show ending and being unironically so full of joy that I discovered this world and I've been able to experience a live event like this so far away from home. It was tremendously special and I don't think I'll ever forget it. I also just want to mention as a quick aside, and I'm not sure if I'll add it in the editing process or not, I actually made it onto the live stream footage as they showed shots from around the crowd before the show on stage 3. So I'm there for an instant before the other fans in my row swarm in front of me, but that was a fun thing to be able to look back on. Will I go back to HoloFest? I'm not entirely sure. For me, it feels like a once-in-a-lifetime experience that I'm so lucky to have had. Though, I say this as I'm preparing to travel back to Japan within the same year to see Miko's solo live, so who really knows? I had the absolute time of my life, and if you're even slightly considering going in future, I would 100 million% recommend it. Just don't expect to get into any of the Hololive sections at the stores in Akihabara during the week of HoloFest. I've been Punk Brock, you've been beautiful, like, subscribe, and thank you very much.